So now let's understand that this keyword in Java. So here we have a class use of this and a class level variable int id, a constructor and some methods, and here's the main method. So in main method we declare an instance of this class, a use of this, and pass use of this constructor with value 1. So essentially the id of this constructor for this particular object, a use of this, is set to 1. And for b use of this, the reference b use of this for the object of use of this class is, for that the id is set to 2. So in this case id equals to 1, and in this case id equals to 2. So now it's saying system.println a use of this. So this line essentially executes this function at line 17, string to string function, where the id is being returned. Essentially the id will print here. So for a use of this, the object that is being referenced by a use of this is this object, and for that id is 1. So 1 will be printed, and here 2 will be printed because b use of this, for that id is 2. So that will be printed here. Now when we use this line 29, when we execute this, so for the object that is being referenced by a use of this variable, we execute the method 1. So this method is executed for this object where id equals to 1. So system.println method 1. So this will essentially print method 1 this. This is essentially meaning the current object. So again toString function will execute and id will be returned. So for this the id is 1, so method 1 will be printed, and then for that same object method 2 will be executed. Method 2 comprises of system.println method 2 and this again. So I'm just giving some space instead of writing different lines. Method 2, and then again this would execute the toString function where the id would be returned, and the id for this object is 1. And again at line 15, when line 14 has completed executing, at line 15 we should probably get an error, but we are not. We should get a compile time error, but we are not, because the compiler understands that whatever object instance is being used to call method 1, that same object instance is being used to call method 2, because method 2 is a non-static method. You cannot call a non-static method without using an object instance. So if this is being called, that means the instance that is calling this non-static method, that same instance is calling method 2. So method 2 is executed again and the same output is repeated. So this is essentially what the output is. Similarly for b use method, for this instance, for the instance referred by this instance, that is this, method 1 execution gives us, will have approximately the same output. Method 1 will give the id 2, since this would return id 2 for this object, and then method 2 will execute, in which again the toString method for the second object b use of this, the object being referenced by this variable, will be executed, and for that id is 2, right? So id 2 will be returned, and similarly for the same reason method 2 will again execute. So let's check our output. So 1 is printed, 2 is printed, and then method 1, method 2, 1, 1, 1 is printed, and then method 1, 2, this all is printed. First this is printed, second, third, this is printed.